everyone. Woohoo! It's Science Week. Thank you so much for joining us for the Wait Wait show, Save Our Species. We wanted to say a few words before the show begins. My name is Holly Vuong, and this is...
Legros.
Oh, I thought he was going to say his full name, and I can't really do the French pronunciation, you know. We're the co-producers of the show. While I got full credit for receiving the National Science Week grant, I do have to give credit to my mate here who helped write part of the grant and help get this show ready. Yay! We'd like to thank the National Science Week for funding this event and the ACT National Science Week for helping us promote and support us over the past couple of months. Smith's Alternative is providing the space for free, so if you can get a drink or buy one of those delicious chocolate macadamia and coconut cookies, oh, it smelled so good in here earlier, please do.
All right. We'd also like to thank the organizations that very generously gave the gifts that you audience participants today will have a chance to win. So big thanks to the ACT National Science Week for donating a book, The Knowledge Wars by Peter Doherty. Thanks to the Botanical Bookshop at the Australian National Botanic Gardens that gave us 2 gift vouchers to the bookshop. And big thanks as well to the Tidbinbilla Nature Reserve for gifting us a day pass into the reserve that you'll also get a chance to win.
And we want to thank Dave, who's going to be our host. Give it up for Dave for bravely taking on this role because, well, Matt and I aren't so funny. So you have somebody else up here.
What makes you think I'm any more funny?
That's true. I actually don't really know him very well. Many thanks to our panel members and to our guest, all of whom you'll meet soon. And lastly, thank you guys for coming to the show. We're so thrilled that it was actually booked out, but it's good that not everybody came because then you have actually opportunities to walk around. It can get really, really tight in here. So Matt and I are big fans of the Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me show that's in the US. And tonight we bring to you a parody of that show called Wait, Wait, Save Our Species. Take it away, Dave.
Yeah. I'll be taking it away, yeah. So, welcome to Wait, Wait, Our Species. As I've said, I'm Matt. I'll be playing the role of the invasive species today, imported out of France. So this is just my way of warning everyone about the weird accents. So my job tonight will be to confuse everyone, the panelists and the audience participant with some weird French accent. So panelists, you've been warned. I will be the scorekeeper though, because today is a very competitive event and we're going to be keeping score. So I'll be the scorekeeper, and my first job, and perhaps my most important job, will be to introduce your host tonight. So please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Dave Leigh.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Now, I have to say I am excited. Why? Because it's National Science Week. Ah, come on, you can do better than that. I didn't say it's the National Science Week. It's National Science Week. Okay, now that's what I'm looking for, because a week where we get to celebrate the fruits of the Enlightenment, where rationality, scientific endeavour, help me out, peer review, I don't know, are applied in the pursuit of knowledge about the world around us, until we are brought back down to earth by tweets from certain world leaders. But anyway. But no, we banish such things tonight. And tonight we celebrate the natural sciences, which in Australia have a fine history from way back when. And because, in case you haven't noticed, we live in such a stunningly beautiful country. And a big part of that stunningly beautiful country is the plants and animals that inhabit here. And if we bring it back to the local scale, who here lives in Gungahlin? Don't worry, I'm not going to make some cheap joke about living in South Yass. No. If you live on the edge of Gungahlin, literally just over your back fence, are natural temperate grasslands, critically endangered ecological community. Similarly, we're all familiar with Black Mountain, Mount Majura, the lower slopes of which are clothed in grassy box woodlands. And the denizens of which seem to suffer from numerous disabilities such as being legless, earless, mouthless. Now, to how it's going to handle on all things biological conservation-y, you notice I'm using the technical terms here, we present to you a show, Wait, Save Our Species, which is based on the US National Public Radio show, Wait, Don't Tell Me. A show where the news of the week, and in this case, conservation news research, is dissected before a live panel. The panel are in a do or die struggle to score the highest number of points. Now, as an audience, you can sit back and relax and take it in, or you can be an active part of the show. And you will have noticed on the way in that you can opt to be drawn out of a hat to participate. It's not too late. If people want to put their names in, feel free. Now, are you all ready to meet the panel? First up, here's a Professor of Conservation Ecology at the University of Melbourne, Director of the National Environmental Science Program's Threatened Species Recovery Hub, and when he's not being interviewed for Four Corners or out saving our species, he's busy being in charge. It's Brendan Wintle.
Thank you very much.
Our next, she is a senior lecturer at the University of New South Wales, Sydney, a researcher at the Australian Museum. She has a passion for amphibians and co-developed Frog ID, the frog app to help you identify frogs in your area. It's Jodi Rowley! And who better to get your information on funny species names like Dicksonia antarctica or for manfern than the Director of Taxonomy Australia. He's working on building Australia's taxonomic and biosystematics infrastructure. It's Kevin Thiele!
Can I say something?
I don't know. Can you?
Not here to say something.
Can I just comment on the utter unfairness of this whole thing,
You need to talk directly.
where you have your funny lines on a piece of paper and we have absolutely no idea what's going to go on. Can we borrow your piece of paper?
No, that's all part of the show. Putting you on the spot. No. Now, this first question I'm going to ask, I'm going to go in turn. So, Brendan, can you tell us a bit about what you do, what the Threatened Species Recovery Hub does?
Oh, that would be hilarious. Do I need to use this?
Yes.
Okay. I am a Professor of Conservation. Do I need to turn it on? Hello? Is there anybody?
Still not coming through?
Two.
Oh, here we go. We've got technical assistance.
Hello?
I don't think they are.
Oh, I know what it is.
We'll just have some incidental music here. Do, 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 do. Sure, actually.
I'll just get started, shall I? Oh, wow, you've really got me there. I love listening to my own adenoidal tones come throttling back to me from the... Can you get rid of the fold back? Is that a technical term? Thanks, Dave. I'm a Professor of Conservation Ecology at Melbourne University, which means I am responsible for training the next generation of conservation ecologists, and so I'm very lucky in that role. I run a research centre, as you've heard, and so I spend a lot of my time preventing 120 scientists from saying inappropriate things in the media. And I'm an academic, so I spend a lot of my time saying inappropriate things in the media. And for a bit of weekend...
That's a full-time job, isn't it?
That's right, for a full-time attention seeker. Yes, and on the weekend, for a bit of relaxation, I like to get myself involved in and embroiled in impact assessments of controversial mine projects in Queensland. Say inappropriate things in the media about it.
And one last thing, can you relate to us what your favourite Australian plant and or animal species?
Can it be an animal plant? I love greater gliders, right? So greater gliders are amazing. They are so evolutionarily outdated. They're a big mammal the size of a cat that thinks it can fly, but it can't. They can only fly just a tiny little bit. In fact, they can't even fly. They glide. And they rely on eucalypt trees, these great, big, incredible trees, the largest flowering plants on the planet, in a country that's basically a desert. I mean, it's so ridiculous. They are so ludicrous that I love them because they're still around for a little while longer. So, yeah.
Jodi, please.
Should I? Oh, it works. I'll get my own microphone then. Thank you. Okay. I'm Jodi. I'm obsessed with frogs, and I spend a lot of my time listening to frog calls submitted by the general public to Frog ID. Most of them are frog calls. Some of them are not. They're interesting noises. You'd be surprised what people record, or maybe not. And the other part of the time I spend impersonating frogs to the media. So my most recent frog was a very terrible impersonation of a Perrins tree frog.
So,
I know it's the worst, but
yeah, I was about to say, can I guess what your favourite animal would be? It's mammalian, right?
But hang
there's
on,
more
hang
than
on.
one species of frog. There's 240 frog species known from Australia.
Before that, can you please imitate the moaning tree frog?
So that's Heliopis aeri from
sorry,
Perth.
not a tree frog, but it moans.
So yeah, it's woo, woo.
That's very good.
I'm better at that. I should change my normal frog impersonation.
Can I do the gastric brooding frog?
You can.
Please.
Gastric brooding frog. Honey, I just had a baby.
We actually have the call of the gastric breeding frog on the Frog ID app, and that is a call that you will never, unless it's rediscovered, which I would love, you will never hear in the wild. So that frog is now extinct, and so the only place that you will see it is in photographs, in specimens, in museums, or you can listen to the call on the Frog ID app.
I actually did corroboree frog surveys a few years back, and I remember that the survey technique for that was to go up to the swamp and go, "Hey, frog!"
Yep.
and they'd respond.
Yeah, so some frogs are really fussy and they will not call back unless you're really good at doing their call. So it can take some, like green and gold bell frogs, if you sort of, you've got to go wah, 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 wah. But yeah, the pseudophony, the brood frogs, if you just, actually, this is kind of a funny story I'll quickly say. Yep. I took my dad to go find red-crowned toadlets near where I live in Sydney. Amazing frogs. They have a little squelchy noise. If you yell at them, they'll call and then you know where they are. My dad was not a very experienced frogger, so he didn't know that you should warn me if someone's coming. So I was on my hands and knees on the ground yelling, "Hey, frog!" when a jogger walked past, stopped and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just looking for a frog." I'm like, "Dad, you meant to tell me."
And Kevin, finally, if you could give a bit about yourself, what you do, what your favourite plant and or animal is.
So I'm a botanist, and I've always enjoyed and been pleased to be a botanist, but now I wish I was a frog expert, because I can't impersonate any plants.
I don't know.
A bit mossy.
It's the best I can do. So I'm a botanist and a taxonomist, and at parties the best I've had is that something with frontal lobotomies. The most common thing is, "Can you tell me what's wrong with my maidenhair fern?" Yeah. And the taxonomy bit, has that got something to do with stuffed animals? Which, in a funny way, I suppose it does. So I work at the Academy of Science. I'm the director of Taxonomy Australia, and we, the sector, are trying to reinvent taxonomy in Australia and get the rest of Australia's species all discovered, so that Jodi has more frogs that she can imitate.
Okay, well, shall we get the first round underway? Now, just before we draw the first audience member, our grant didn't quite stretch as far as having a snare drum to create a bit of tension in the room. So if you can all stamp your feet, bang the table, and I'll do a sort of flamoid trumpet. Who do we have, Matt?
And now I'm going to butcher names. Fortunately, this one is easy. Can we get Barry up to the stage, please? Barry.
Hey, give it up.
Yeah, up to this mic up here.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself, what you do?
I work part-time for the Australian Biological Resources Study. So we're kind of like the taxonomy guys for the Australian government. We run a bunch of databases for plants and animals in Australia. And part-time, I'm also academic at ANU.
This can't be right, 2 professional taxonomists in the same room. I thought we got rid of all the taxonomists.
Okay, well, so the first competition we have is hang on, was it Matt? This time section.
Who's Matt this time?
Who's Matt this time?
Yes, this is where I impersonate some people about biodiversity and conservation news, and then Dave is going to ask you some questions about it. And if you get 2 out of 3, you'll win our prize.
Okay. These are the words of a passionate naturalist.
Wait, I haven't said the words yet.
God.
The words in questions are: I wish the world was twice as big and half of it was still unexplored.
Okay, now I'll come in. These are the words of a passionate naturalist who has spent decades exploring corners of the world and producing and narrating countless documentaries, raising awareness to the world's animal and plant life and the threat that it's under. Who is he?
David Attenborough.
That is correct.
How good. This is indeed David Attenborough, well-known producer and narrator of many nature documentaries for the BBC, including the Life series and the more recent Planet Earth, Blue Planet documentaries. His programs have introduced the world to the fantastic diversity of animal and plant life on Earth. Okay, shall we switch to the next one?
Sometimes I think I have the best job in the world. Sometimes I think I have the worst job in the world.
Okay, this is Lavenia Ratnaraja, a marine biogeochemist at the University of Liverpool, part of a team about to embark from Hobart to spend days on the Southern Ocean studying faeces. And a whole lot of it too. Considering the particular animal that they're studying, whose poop they will be scooping, what do you would think it is?
Krill.
Well, you're close, but...
Close. Yeah, a little
Whales?
There you go.
bit more detail. Well, yes.
Humpback whales? Minke
Keep
whales?
going. Think the biggest.
Blue whales?
Hey!
Are you going to give her that one? Or?
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Everyone's a winner here. That's the truth. Okay. So it is indeed a study about blue whale faeces, whale excrement. It's composed mostly of digested krill, which is rich in iron, and therefore thought to be important fertiliser, crucial to the growth of marine microbial life, particularly in the Southern Ocean. Okay, here is your last quote.
Keep your eyes on them.
This advice comes from Madeline Goomas, a researcher at the University of Exeter who came up with this useful strategy when dealing with cheeky seagulls found on the seaside in the UK. Apparently, staring directly at seagulls is the best way to stop them from doing what?
Stealing your food.
Oh,
Exactly.
did you? Will you read it? Matt, how did she do?
Our Perry did very well. She got all 3 out of 3, and she wins our prize, obviously.
Awesome.
Which Holly will give you. You can Holly in the back.
Okay.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go Taxonomy.
Okay, so we now move to the panel member question section. It's time for you to answer some questions on biodiversity news. So, Kevin, this first one is directed to you. Okay. So, this new bodyguard is protecting native aquatic species from mosquito fish. What is it?
Bodyguard.
A bodyguard.
From mosquitoes from fish.
So protecting
don't
native
understand.
aquatic
Do you understand?
species from mosquito fish.
Is there any plants in this question?
Mosquito fish
there
are
are no-
nasty.
there are no-
Little aggressive, nasty fish.
Well, you think we gave it to him?
Sharks.
We're talking aquatic systems here.
Botanist.
I'm not helping anymore.
Bodyguard. No.
No?
No.
No.
Give me another question.
No. Let me think. Hang on. What?
He's stumped too.
Does
Yeah,
anyone
I know-
else know and want to steal the point?
I'm trying to think of what we can give him.
I actually don't know the answer. I just know that they eat frogs. Is there a bodyguard protecting frogs that I don't know about?
Is it a salamander?
No. So
Nobody
Where
said
do I
it was
get
a
this
live
job?
Does
bodyguard.
the audience have any clues? Because we're all hopeless up here. Does anyone?
it's not a
get it?
plant. No. It's actually human made.
I'm feeling better.
It's actually human made. It's a machine of some sort.
It's a bot.
Bodyguard.
A marine bot.
There you go.
An aqua bot.
And if you use that mic, you will steal the point. Here's the mic.
A bot.
It is indeed. It is a robo fish.
Oh my goodness. I've got one of those in the bath.
Yeah.
You wind it up.
All these years.
And you don't have mosquito fish in your bath, so it works.
So researchers from the University of Western Australia's Centre for Evolutionary Biology has been studying the appearance and swimming patterns of native predators of mosquito fish. The researchers have integrated these patterns into the robotic fish to make it look and move like the real predator. So it turns out these repelled and stressed mosquito fish and such that they lose their energy reserves. So negatively affects their survival and fertility in the long run. So robots for the win. And no, this research was not funded by Skynet.
Are the other questions going to be as hard as that one? Because even the audience didn't know that one. Can you give me an easier question next time?
No, well, that's it. You had your chance. No.
You can steal the points from the other questions later.
Sounds like a recipe for a mosquito plague. Shouldn't mess with me.
It's robots, though.
Okay, so our next section now is Bluff the Listener. So,
One more drum roll, then.
yes, please. Tension in the room. Who's playing this time, Matt?
All right. We have Matt Chard or Charles.
I'll hand you this.
Oh, excellent.
So tell us a bit about what you do.
I'm a PhD student at the ANU, so I'm clinically insane, I think. I'm studying bushfire ecology. essentially.
So I've worked out over the years that there's 3 questions you can't ask a PhD
Go.
candidate. One is exactly what is your thesis topic?
Yeah.
Number 2 is when do you think you'll finish? And number 3 is what do you want to do afterwards? Yeah.
The third one is like start a trade or something like that.
Right.
Choose a different job career.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so in this game, you need to be able to tell truth from fiction. So, Matt, what is the topic?
The topic is our litter, their heaven.
What?
They will explain what that
Their-
means. I warned you about the accent.
Our litter, their haven.
That's what I said.
He did promise to butcher.
Every day we produce rubbish that goes into our environment. Most times it goes to the landfills, but at other times it may end up being tossed outside our car window on the drive or dumped at big touristy places where everyone else is doing it. So really, why shouldn't I? But sometimes our litter can be the saving grace for our biodiversity. Our panelists will tell you about how our litter can be a part of the safe havens of our wildlife species, may just need to better survive. So pick the real one and you will be the winner in our game.
All right, excellent.
First, let's hear from Jodi.
All right. Ladies, you know those old bras you have lying around? The ones where the elastic doesn't stretch anymore, or you've grown, or perhaps even shrunk in boob size, so you don't fit your bras, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. We all have those lying around sometime in our life. But rather than throw them out, there's a new way to upcycle them and feel good about saving some turtles. Each spring, turtles do what people do. They leave their inland homes and flock towards the beaches. Not so much for the swim, but to lay their eggs on the shoreline. This turtle migration leaves them vulnerable to being hit by cars, run over by lawnmowers, I'm not sure who's lawnmowing a beach, or attacked by cats and dogs. So each spring, a North Carolina animal rescue shelter gets in about 40 turtles a week with cracked shells. To help mend the shells, this is where the bras come in, a volunteer at the animal rescue shelter has found an ingenious way of helping turtles protect their special shells using bra clasps. They glue the clasps onto the shell pieces, then wire them together and let the cracks heal over time. It only takes about 3 to 8 weeks for the shells to mend. Upon release back into the wild, all signs of bra clasps and wires are gone, so they don't get ridiculed, and another turtle life has been saved by your bra.
Gee, bravo. Okay, use bras being upcycled for their clasps to mend turtle havens, also known as shells. Your next story on how our litter can protect our wildlife comes from Kevin Thiele.
So, how many people here are hipsters? No one claims. We have a hipster. Okay. While you're at your hipster cafe and at an ecologically minded restaurant, which I'm sure we all go to, you'll notice that many of them have moved towards paper or metal straws because the ocean is littered with plastic straws. I think it's mandated. It's the law. These floating devices, plastic straws, not bras, are a nuisance and a threat to marine wildlife as animals can accidentally swallow them and potentially die, which seems a bit more than a nuisance, but there you go, by having their bellies filled with straws and other plastic. However, a taxonomic group that lives in the waters around the Great Barrier Reef, Hawaii and New Guinea have found a new use for plastic straws. Siphocateran slugs. There's a clue there, Siphophthirian slugs. Or Pacific Ocean dwelling sea slugs are using plastic straws as their safe havens during their mating periods. Now we get into the mating of Siphophthirian slugs. Avoiding the potential of being eaten during their 40-minute lovemaking sessions, these brightly coloured sea slugs now use these romantic hideaways, plastic straws, to protect themselves while having some fun. Interestingly, these sea slugs are known to have forked penises. It had to get to this when we were talking about sea slugs, that are about the length of their bodies. During their mating ritual, inside the plastic straw, the sea slug pushes one branch of the penis into the partner's genital opening and releases sperm, as you do, while the other branch pierces the head, just missing the eye. Does this sound convincing or not? I'm not supposed to say that, am I? This could be convincing. Please, pay attention.
It's all right, he's a fire ecologist.
We have just missed the eye with one fork of the sea slug penis. Slugs are hermaphrodites, which I think means that each of them are piercing each other's, just missing the eye. So they have both male and female organs. So yes, they are. They're both doing this. The spike in the head injects a chemical secretion that may control the slug's behaviour, or perhaps hits the slug's pleasure spot. I didn't know that slugs have a pleasure spot, but I'm pleased to know it. Not only do these slugs fertilise each other's eggs, they may get to do it while being high. Lucky buggers. And this all happens in plastic straws floating in the Pacific Ocean. So clearly we should be throwing out more plastic straws.
Now, plastic straws acting as safe havens for mating sea slugs in the waters of our Great Barrier Reef. Your last story on how rubbish helps protect our species is from Brendan Wintle.
Thank you. This was not written for old people. I'll do my best.
Do you want me to hold it a couple of metres away?
Yeah, that's right. If you're looking for a thesis chapter afterwards, come see me. I've got one here. Styrofoam containers are not commonly used here in Australia, except down at St Kilda Beach, but are still used widely in Indonesia. Hot meals stay warm for longer when served in these styrofoam boxes, and that's what tourists want when they take an adventure to the islands for a local meal and an opportunity to see the venomous Komodo dragon. Due to increased human activities and loss of habitat, Komodo dragons are now listed as a vulnerable species under the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. But their numbers are increasing due to the prolific amounts of food scraps that they get from tourists and the help from styrofoam containers, helping to keep their eggs warm during the incubation period. Like most lizards, these Komodo dragons lay eggs that are buried in the ground, and researchers have shown the Komodo dragons that lay eggs in styrofoam, on average, had young lizards hatch 1.5 days earlier than Komodo dragons that didn't use the styrofoam. Did you love this kind of research? I mean, who's funding this? Not the National Environmental Science Program. That's right. This evolutionary behaviour change in using styrofoam litter to incubate eggs has led to greater nesting success rates of the Komodo dragons, as earlier hatched young can better escape predators. I need to talk to you about punctuation, Holly, when we catch up later. We might just need to consider styrofoam containers in Australia to help our threatened and endangered lizards breed more successfully.
Okay, so one of these panelists. Do you need them to repeat it again? Yeah, like you kept track of all this.
Yeah, I got the gist of it, I think.
Okay, so one of these panelists is telling the true story of how litter is protecting our wildlife. Is it from Jodi, with a North Carolina shelter finding a unique way of saving turtles with bra clasps by gluing them onto broken shells and wiring them together so that the shells have time to mend? Is it from Kevin Thiele and mating sea slugs using straws as protective havens while they get it on for 40 minutes of passionate lovemaking while being stabbed in the head and in the genital areas so that they get high at the same time with eggs again? You're right, she does need to learn some photos.
It is pretty exciting.
Or from Brendan Wintle and Komodo dragons laying their eggs in styrofoam before they are buried so that their eggs stay warmer for longer, which allow their young to hatch about a day earlier than the other lizards' nests that don't use styrofoam and gives an advantage of being just a bit faster than escaping predators. What do you think? Who do you think is telling the real story?
Before the answer, can I tell you what the sea slugs do when they have more space in a styrofoam box?
Can you tell me how big the sea slugs are?
Kevin, this is a family show, you realise.
I just feel once two sea slugs go into a straw, they just hit and then they both can't get out. And there's no way of them passing. So that they'll probably just die if they go into a straw.
Good observation.
I like your logical reasoning.
Bringing logic into this. Bold move.
I like the styrofoam containers, but I don't think it's plausible. And I think just the bra story is so ridiculous that I'm going to go with the bra story on the turtles' backs.
Matt.
All right, let's hope this works. I actually have a bit of a news clip about this particular story.
It's hard enough, right? Talk about saving the turtles, because this is something we can all get behind. And it's up to us ladies now. Let's donate our old bras. This is
What can I say? Everyone's a winner. That was WCNC News talking about how bra clasps are being used to mend broken shells. Now...
Well done, Matt. Obviously, you win our prize as well. So please see Holly sitting right here. She'll give you the prize.
Okay, panel. It's your turn, and it's Brendan's turn this time. So, Brendan, a recent photo of a group of sperm whales off the coast of Dominica were doing what when they all had their tails down and suspended in the water?
Their tails were suspended in the water? What were they doing?
They were...
Is that the question?
Yeah, so they were just hanging out. Was it? They had their tails down and they just suspended in the water.
They were watching the Siphoптodon sea slugs. Clearly.
Yeah, right, I see. Look, I think most things I've ever seen in the news about whales has been about them farting and how rarely we see them fart, and that when they fart, they just release this incredible amount of gas. Yep. I mean, would you like to do an impression of a whale farting? Who was it? Hot water bottle and a bottle of bottle.
I feel.
So I feel inclined to imagine that maybe they were all hanging around, wishing that they had moved up onto land so that they could light their incredibly incendiary farts.
I love your thinking on this, and it's nowhere near the right answer, but they were in fact taking a nap. So
I think my answer is better.
Yeah, I think it's more inventive. Yeah, absolutely.
Slow news day. Whales sleep.
Yeah, who knew? Yeah. Apparently,
Big brains need a sleep.
Apparently, sperm whales take 10 to 15-minute power naps in the upright drifting posture. During this time, they do not breathe or move at all. So imagine seeing a group of your co-workers all standing still, not breathing and napping during the day for 15... I see that all the time at my workplace. Now, I bet it would be disturbing and not majestic like the whales. Now...
My grandfather used to not breathe when he slept. And he was
15
rather
minutes.
large, but I remember it was quite traumatic. I'd lie next to him and think, is he going to breathe? Is he going to breathe? And then eventually... Yeah, well, he died.
So you're thinking...
I thought you were going to say that. Eventually he didn't. Yeah.
So you're thinking a whale in his past life, maybe? Okay, so now we move on to the next section entitled Not My Job. Okay, and as we all know, Australia's unique animal and plant communities make us special in the world. We are known for the venomous snakes, the deadly box jellyfish, salties in our waters. Hang on, isn't that just Queensland? It's not all bad though. We also have colourful amphibians, diversity of parrots, fast and furious spiders, and amazing plants, including the Wallamai pines that existed when the dinosaurs were here. So, between 2008 and 2017, approximately 25,000 species were discovered and named in Australia. While there is still so much to be discovered, Australia is also known to be one of the leading countries where threatened and endangered species become extinct at alarming rates. So, to tell us more about what she is doing to help improve the situation for imperiled diversity, we're going to talk to Australia's Threatened Species Commissioner, Dr. Sally Box.
Have a seat.
Yeah, well, please. Yeah.
Here, please.
Thank you.
So, Sally, can you tell us exactly what the Threatened Species Commissioner for Australia does?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name's Sally. I'm from the government. So my job is to try to raise awareness about Australia's threatened species. So if you don't know who I am, I'm doing a terrible job. So start following me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, please, tomorrow. My main job is to implement Australia's threatened species strategy. So that's trying to improve the path of our plants and our mammals and our birds, and to tackle threats like feral cats, and try to do all this in a way that's based on science. And so we work pretty closely with Brendan and the Threatened Species Recovery Hub, and I do my best, or unsuccessfully try to keep him out of trouble in the media. So yeah, that's my job.
Excellent. And do you have a favourite threatened or endangered species that you're quite partial to?
Well, I'm the Threatened Species Commissioner, so I'm not really allowed to have favourites. But within the small confines of Smith's Alternative, I am partial to the pygmy blue-tongued lizard, which doesn't actually have a blue tongue. I quite like it for that reason. It was thought to be extinct until 1992, when it was discovered in the belly of a brown snake, and they realised it was actually still around. And it inhabits the burrows of spider burrows that have been abandoned, and it reverses into them, which I find really impressive because I'm really terrible at reversing anything. So I like them.
I think you've taken lessons, maybe.
Yeah.
And given that you travel a lot for your work to highlight threatened and endangered species, where have you been in Australia that you think is the most spectacular?
Oh, that's tough. So just a few weeks ago, I was out near Mullen community, which is on the Barragoo IPA, which is about 1,000 kilometres east of Broome. And it was a couple of hundred Indigenous rangers getting together to talk about doing healthy country planning for species on the desert country. They recently discovered the night parrot on that Indigenous protected area. So that was pretty spectacular country. I've also sort of been to night parrot country over in sort of Western Queensland, and have the embarrassing privilege of being one of the few people who's had the privilege of hearing a night parrot but happened to be looking the wrong way when it flew past.
It's more common than you think.
Thank you.
So, Sally, we hear that you have a famous sibling in the family. She's been on several hit shows, including Rake, Offspring, Wanted, and more. Yeah. She's even a winner of the AACTA, what's that, Australian Academy Cinema Television Arts Award as lead female actor. Mm-hmm. Does talent run in the family?
Well, yes. So a lot of people say, well, how is it that one of you ended up as an actor and one of you ended up as a scientist? And well, I didn't have any acting talent, so that's how that ended up. But yeah, Kate, you can watch her. Les Norton, ABC, Sunday nights. She's doing some great 80s hair. Yeah, she's the talent in the family. So,
no, you're absolutely sure about that? Because, acting or singing, playing instruments tends to run in the family. Is there a particular instrument that you're proficient at?
No, there isn't.
Well, I've heard otherwise. I hear that you're a bit of a gun on the ukulele.
Well, my team are entirely unreliable with most things. So, no, I played the piano and I realised it was too big to take camping. So I tried to pick up something else. But every time I try to pick it up when I go camping, my kids say, "Mum, can we just turn on the radio?"
Well, we just happen to have a ukulele here.
Fiona's fired.
Now, will you do us the honour of playing us a song?
So they say that on the ukulele you can play any song with the same 4 chords, which is C. Oh gosh, this hasn't been tuned. A minor. This really hasn't been tuned.
It just adds to the atmosphere.
F and G7. But they say you can play any song with those 4 chords, but I can't play any. So.
Oh, come on! Really, please. Do I need to get on the?
All right, go on. I'll play something with those 4 chords. So this is the ones my kids hate the most. Yeah.
Are they
and
here?
It goes something like, no, they're all too little. It goes, oh, I really can't. No, I can't. It's too out of tune. You tune it, I'll play it later.
Well, give it up for Sally Box. Okay.
Can I go now?
Yeah, you can go. Yeah, you're free.
Could you just sing the song?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
We can harmonise. Come on.
Yeah, you got it. Yes, no, no. Okay, look. Thank you.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
No, unfortunately, no, that's not all. That's not all. Sorry, Sally.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
You have to play a game with us.
I have to play a game. Okay, that wasn't it.
Sorry, oh God, I'm sucking at this hosting. But anyway, look. Okay, so we're going to quiz you about, was it extinct sports?
Right. Okay.
And you're going to be playing for someone in the audience. So
Tension again,
one
everyone.
Participant in the audience is going to have a chance to win a prize without even coming up to the stage. And you're playing for Annie C.
I'll do my best, Annie.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here's your first question. Club swinging was brought to the US Summer Olympics in 1904 and 1932. The last American championship was played in 1953. How was this sport played? Is it gymnasts held swinging dancing competitions with nightclubs of the cities hosting the Olympics? Similar to discus, the competitor twirled around in their spot while holding the club before swinging the club as far as possible across the field. Or gymnasts held bowling pin-shaped clubs in each hand and swung them around in complicated manoeuvres in a strange mix of juggling and rhythm gymnastics.
Wow, I can't believe that this sport went extinct.
I know. They need to be brought back, right?
They do. Look, I'm going to go with option 3 with the bowling ball style clubs.
Matt, how did you do?
That's the correct answer.
It was the only answer I could remember.
Yeah, club swinging began in India, where it was used in the military to strengthen men. Club swinging became popular with men and women in the Victorian era, and with school kids even doing synchronised club swinging in the US. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Are you reading from the wrong script? What on earth has that got to do with conservation? And why would you ask a threatened species commission?
It has nothing to do. That's why the section is called "Not My Job."
Not my job.
Yeah.
Because asking Sally about her job
I
would
see.
be too boring.
Thank you.
So fox tossing was very popular with European nobility in the 17th and 18th century. It was considered even gentle enough for women to participate.
Oh, lovely.
It's a good thing this sport died out because of its cruel nature. But how was the game played? Is it catapults were paid for by the nobility to be built for the annual fox toss? At this game, whichever catapult tossed the fox the farthest was the winner. Was it a fox was released in an arena and partners with slings between them would capture the fox, toss it as high as possible. Whichever team tossed the fox the highest was the winner. Or, like the game of hot potatoes, foxes were tossed between people standing around in a circle. Whoever got a bit was the loser.
Right. Well, I'm from Port Lincoln, the land of Tunarama, so I feel like I missed out on a really interesting competition. I'm going to go for the catapult, A.
Oh, are you sure about that?
Do you know the untold story about how foxes were introduced into Australia?
Is it with a catapult?
It was a catapult. they overwhelmed the spring, and fox went, whoa, right across the Atlantic Ocean.
14,000, 12,000 k's away.
All the way to end in Australia.
Amazing.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. It's not my job.
So you're sure about that? You think catapults?
Well, look, out of the three options, sure, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be confident.
It in fact was B. There would be an arena. Yeah, I know. Look, you're at risk of losing a prize. There would be an arena where partners had slings between them, and when the fox or other animal was released into the arena, the main goal of the game was to get the animal into the sling and toss it as high as possible. And if it didn't die from the fall, then it was just later bludgeoned to death after the game. And yes, 17th and 18th century ladies were known to participate in this game, even in the presence of terrified foxes. So I take it we're not going to introduce that to control.
People complain about 1080.
I was about to say, we're not introducing that for feral cats, I hope. No.
No, I don't think it would. I don't think the RSPCA would approve.
Wouldn't pass ethics, you don't think?
That's right.
No. Okay. Okay. So the final one. Okay. The ball game known as Ulama was played throughout Mesoamerica by civilizations like the Aztecs and the Mayans. In narrow courts shaped like the capital I and with high side walls, the aim of the game was to keep the ball from hitting the ground on your own side of the court, not letting the ball stop on your side of the court. Oh, God. Sorry. And if you can, get the ball through a ring up on the side wall that could be as high as 8 metres up, just using your hips, thighs and elbows.
So it's like a cross between volleyball, soccer and Quidditch, is that?
Pretty much, yeah. And these games were played on which important day of the calendar? Is it the equinox, because the ball represented the sun being passed between the heavens and the underworld, thus representing the battle between the celestial and inferno forces? Was it the first day of the calendar year because the losing team was needed to be sacrificed to the gods in order to protect the rest of the community for the rest of the year? Or the last day of the calendar year as a way to celebrate out with the old, in with the new, like we do on New Year's Eve today?
I'm going to go with the equinox. A.
Got it. You pick it up for Sally Box. For these civilizations, the solar cycle is closely tied to the cycle of death and rebirth, hence the equinox is an important date for these people. Why no official rules are known, archaeologists have used sculptures, art ball courts and glyphs as evidence for how the game works. What likely drove the end of this ball game was the extinction of the people. Not like today where everyone gets a trophy back and then the losers may have been sacrificed. Okay, so how did Sally do?
Well, Sally is clearly an expert in all kinds of extinct things because she got 2 out of 3, which in our game means she's a winner. So congratulations.
Thank you, Sally.
And congratulations to Annie who wins the prize. Thanks to Sally.
Okay, we're back to panel section here. And we've got Jodi. So, the Clean Air and Urban Landscapes Hub, known as the CALL Hub, the competitor of the Threatened Species Recovery Hub, has just put out a survey on what as a research crowdfunding initiative for their hub.
I was waiting for the multiple choice. Can you repeat the last part of the question again?
Sure. So the CALL Hub has just put out a survey on what as a research crowdfunding initiative for their hub.
Dealing with all the really big questions here tonight.
So usually we give hints, but I think in this case,
Yeah,
Brendan can give some hints.
It could be anything. I mean, to do with clean air and yeah.
Urban landscapes, you're right, yeah. And as they're our competitor, as you say, I feel a bit awkward offering up hints and advice, and in actual fact, I have no bloody idea.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It is a survey of some sort. It is to do with the attractiveness of certain...
There's just one word missing, so you can't really give any more hints.
Yeah.
The attractiveness of
These are really hard.
solar panels.
Clean air. So citizens are being asked to breathe all around Australia into a paper bag and send it. No, that's silly. But is there something here?
Trees.
The paper bag might actually be used to hide that.
I think I can give half a point for that. Just for that.
I think we just.
You get, this is no.
Okay, I think we need to give it.
Find it online.
It is actually an animal attractiveness survey.
Why are they doing that?
I don't know. I'll tell you.
Pigeons
I will.
more attractive than country pigeons?
So the CALL Hub is developing a protocol that examines which animals are considered the most attractive and charismatic across a wide taxonomic, phylogenetic and functionally diverse taxa in order to improve conservation messaging and provide evidence support decisions on the most appropriate species to target for conservation actions.
Oh, that is not right. So recently there was a paper published that someone went and they actually looked at all of the amphibians and decided what made different species of amphibian more. There was an attractiveness index, and I sent this around the whole lab because it was quite excellent. But they wrongly said that the shorter the arms and the rounder the body, the least attractive people found the frogs. But have you seen burrowing frogs? You need to look up #roundfrog on Twitter. They are the most gorgeous frogs on earth. So I think they asked the wrong audience. But this is a cruel and unfair game that these people are playing, and I think you've got them sorted.
I think we're going to cut that, aren't we, Sally? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
I told you it was going to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we now move on to the next section of the night, the listener limericks. So, Matt, attention please, everyone. And who's playing?
Michaela. Or Michaela. Yeah.
Michaela?
Michaela?
Anyone? Woo! Where's that? Oh, that's
one.
Right there. Thank you. G'day. Now, Michaela, what do you do?
I'm a geologist.
Oh, goodness. Branching out tonight.
I am in the wrong quiz night.
Right. Sorry, so that's actually tomorrow night, right? Welcome. Now, so you're familiar with the limerick as a poetic form. An example being, there was a young Royal Marine who tried to fuck God Save the Queen. When he reached his soprano, out came the guano and his pants weren't fit to be seen. So this section, I know, it's a genius poetical form, right? So Matt is going to read 3 biodiversity-related limericks with the last word or phrase missing from each. Fill in the last word or phrase correctly in 2 of the limericks, and you'll be the winner. Are you ready to play?
Not even remotely.
We'll give it your best shot.
Have a crack.
All right, and this is where, again, I warned you about the accent. As pets, we love scratches and pats, but we're deadly in natural habitats. Marsupial and bird wish we'd stayed home and purred. There's no fiercer hunter than us feral.
Cats.
Not bad for a geologist.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So cats, as most people here would know, major feral predators in Australia and the US, and likely Europe, and just about anywhere really. So you ever had that pet cat that loves you so much, he or she brings you a present each day, mouse, lizard, grasshopper. Those little gifts are helping to wipe out our wildlife pretty much. So
It's okay, I'm a dog person.
Oh, really? Oh, that's okay. So anywhere between 2 to 4 million cats, and they're known to kill an estimated 6 million animals per day.
Not each. Just to clarify.
Okay. So here is your next limerick.
If we act fast and that time is brief, we can still avoid national grief. Australia is happier with a healthy Great Barrier. Let's put an end to the bleaching of
The beef.
Well, we should definitely stop that as
Can I try
well.
again?
I think it's
The reef.
very good. I was about to say, I actually think it's the beef that's causing the problem. Like, all the clearance in the catchments. And anyway. So, of course, Australia's coral reefs, including our Great Barrier Reef, are not just great tourist attractions and scuba diving spots, they're also major biodiversity hotspots, and they're fundamental to sustaining a wide range of marine species. So bleaching happens when the corals expel their symbiotic algae that live inside the coral. And this usually happens in response to stress, notably temperature, which makes the coral reefs very vulnerable to climate change and warming waters. And it can take decades for a coral reef to recover from major bleaching events, which is why it is crucial to make sure we monitor the health of our coral reefs. Okay, so the final limerick, please, Matt.
A new species was pulled from the unknowns. To name it, let's watch TV on our phones. We crown you Night King as winter is coming. This bee fly was named after Game of
Thrones.
Huzzah! Yeah, the bee fly is one of about 230 newly named species in Australia this year. It was named named by Leigh Kun, a PhD student doing research at CSIRO. Apparently this bee fly and the night king have quite a few similarities, including a crown of thorn-like spines. It occurs during winter, and the female lays eggs on other insects, and so when the larvae hatch, they eat their host from the inside out, turning these hosts into walking zombies.
As a PhD student, I can relate to making everything about Game of Thrones because that's what you're actually focused on in some years.
Yeah, I'm sure. And actually, having lived with a few PhD students, I know that around when the thesis is due, the house becomes incredibly tidy. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, congratulations. 3 out of 3. Obviously, you're a winner, so very well done.
Okay, and now onto our final section, the lightning round. So each panellist will have 1 minute to answer as many questions as he or she can. Each question will be worth 2 points. So Matt, can you give us an update of what the scores are?
We have lots of points on the board here. We have Jodi and Brendan tied in first place with 1 point. And then Kevin in third place, bronze medal with not so many points.
And how many of the audience? The audience has always been a winner.
The audience has always won, clearly. So
you've got some ground to make up, Kevin, clearly. Okay.
So you're going to go first, Kevin.
That's right. So third place goes first. Okay, you're ready.
And you have 1 minute to answer all the questions.
Your time starts now. This invasive amphibian was released in Australia in 1935 in an attempt to control... Correct. Estimated number of plants and animal on Australia's threatened species list.
Oh, God. How many? 1,800.
1 point for Sally.
He does need the help. The bramble K melamas went extinct in February this year in what region of Australia?
Queensland.
More detail.
Torres Strait. The sea.
We'll give it to you. This famous invasive species was found to have the highest impact on Australian threatened species. What is it?
The cat.
Yay! This marsupial was introduced in Tasmania and is now the main natural predator of endangered swift parrots. What is it?
The sugar glider.
Hey!
And I'm a botanist.
These insects can be trained to
You can finish the question.
These insects can be trained to distinguish between European and Australian Indigenous art styles. What are they?
Bees.
Very good.
All right, you've more than made it up, and I forgot to say that each question now is worth 2 points. So with 6 correct answers, you now have 12 points, and you're in the lead.
You are now in the lead. You could take this out. You could win bragging rights. Okay.
And not one of those questions was about plants.
I know.
Can you give plant questions to her?
There may very well be some coming up. Okay, so given that it's a tie, it doesn't really matter who goes next. We'll just move along. Jodi.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so...
Sorry.
You're on?
Yeah, when you're ready.
Your time starts now. A second type of transmissible cancer has been detected in wild populations of this animal.
Tasmanian devil.
Correct.
Almost a tiger.
On 26th of August 2009, the last known individual of this species emerged from its daytime shelter from Christmas Island. What was it?
Oh, pipistrelle bat.
Genius. The first attempt at biological control of European rabbits was with this viral disease. What was it?
Calicivirus?
No.
The first one.
First one.
Myxomatosis.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Researchers say that this is the biggest threat to our biodiversity. What is it?
Climate change? No. Land clearing, habitat loss?
Yes. Very good.
Yeah, that
Recent innovation has improved the poison baits that are deployed across Central Australia to control this invasive mammal. What is it?
Across Central Australia. Cat? Fox. Totally counts.
We'll give it to her. Yeah.
Fox it was. Yeah.
That was high intensity. I came here to try and laugh, not answer serious scientific questions.
Yeah, well, you need the bragging rights between these other two next. Okay. Our third and final panelists. Brendan, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Your time starts now. The eastern quoll became extinct in the 1960s in all but one Australian state.
Tasmania.
Very good. When British biologist George Shaw first received a specimen of this animal, it looked so strange that he thought it was a prank. What was it?
Platypus.
Very good. The Cactoblastus moth has been used to successfully control this invasive cactus species. What is it?
The prickly pear.
Very good. Rice paddies in Australia are important for the bunyip birds for what reason?
Bunyip birds? Pass.
Pass. The lag time associated with loss of species is termed as?
The extinction debt.
Yes, 501 amphibian species declines are now known to be affected by this fungal pathogen. What is it? Chytrid, thank you. Between 2009 and 2015, more than 1,600 what were discovered in Australia?
Young liberals.
I think the last known Christmas Island forest skink died in captivity in 2014. What was the name of this forest skink?
The Christmas Island forest skink.
It starts... The first name is...
Forest skink.
Gump.
Oh, Forrest Gump, you mean the individual? Sorry, that particular Forrest.
That particular one, yes.
Thank you.
So, Matt, how did they do?
All right. Well, in a stunning turn of events, Jodi and Brendan each got 5 correct answers, which gave them 10 more points and a total of 11. But Kevin, with his 6 correct answers and 12 points, got in the lead at the last minute, and he's our winner today.
And he asked the questions faster for these guys. Did you notice that?
Genius. So that brings to a close the show. So in just a minute, we're actually going to ask our panellists what new organism will be discovered and who it will be named after. But now I'd like to call on Holly just to have a few words of thanks.
So you guys have to come up with an answer in the time that I'm saying the thanks. So think about what new organism will be discovered and who will it be named after.
And a funny name for it, basically.
Yeah, come up with a funny name. Wasn't that a great show? Yeah, I had such a great time, and I hope you did too. Sorry for the run-on sentences, but when you're writing this last minute sometimes, that's what you get. Thanks again to Dave for being a charismatic host for the show.
Yeah.
Can we give him a round of applause? And Matt for being a fantastic scorekeeper. And to our panel members, Kevin, Jodi, and Brendan for playing along. And to Sally Box for also entertaining us and being saving the threatened species. I'd like to thank again Smith's Alternative for allowing us to use this space for free. That's very nice of them. Yes. And for the AV support. Again, funding for this show was provided by National Science Week, and support was also given by the ACT National Science Week, in addition to the book prize. We also got gifts from the Botanic Bookshop and Tidbinbilla Nature Reserve. So those who played and won, and you haven't picked up your gift yet, come look for me. And lastly, thank you for the audience for coming out to this show. We're gonna if you can, stick around. After the show, we'll have these amazing panel members and Sally to come up to stage, take a few questions from you guys. So if you have any burning biodiversity and conservation type questions, raise up your hand and I'll come around with the microphone. So now panel, after the Games of Thrones bee fly, what is the next organism to be discovered and named? Brendan.
Oh my God. This is the sort of question you really should have given us before the show. But
No.
I forgot to tell you at dinner time.
Thank you. Yeah. I was just thinking then, we have this propensity to find parrots, right? We keep finding new parrots, night parrots, which was wonderful. And I'm picturing finding a parrot from outback Australia that we never knew existed, and we'll discover that it just constantly, repetitively talks nonsensical economic policy, and we might call it Barnaby's joyful parrot.
Good one. Kevin.
So I've always thought, as someone who finds species and names them, I've always and we've got this thing going at the moment amongst taxonomists where they try to get their 5 minutes of fame by naming a species after an obscure pop star or Donald or an obscure politician like Donald Trump or something. People who will be forgotten in the course of things. I've always thought that it'd be really good to find a rare species, and we do that a lot, and name it after someone who has it in their power to prevent it going extinct. So I'm going to find a rare species of butterfly, which only lives on the site of the Darney coal mine, and call it Papilio morrisonii, and see what happens.
All right.
Jodi.
I have been frantically trying to think of something and not done particularly well. But I guess listening to all of the calls from Frog ID of all of the frogs across Australia, which supposedly have different noises, I think we do hear a lot of the same kind of noise sometimes from people while they're recording frogs. So I think we're actually missing a species out there. I would like to call it, I know there is a similar one, but a barking tree frog. As people walk along, sometimes you hear all sorts of noises. So the next species that I'll be discovering is the elusive barking tree frog.
Is that Mixophies Fido? Would that do?
Well, actually, there was in WA, people thought a dog were trapped down a drain a couple of weeks ago, and they called out the police and the council and everything, and it turns out no one knew what a frog sounded like, and it was a frog calling from a drain. They actually spent the entire day trying to flush a frog out, thinking that there was a dog stuck. So there is a reason to know your local frog calls, and if you check out some of the Facebook comments were excellent. Yeah.
I have a 7-year-old son, and I reckon he would love to name a frog the blurting fart frog.
Well, thank you very much for our panelists. And if any of that happens, we promise we'll ask you about it on the next edition of Wait, Save Our Species. Thank you, everyone.